Hello, everybody. Good afternoon, and welcome to our group discussion about operating systems. Today, I will be presenting about AmogOS, and my friend Bernard will be discussing about Puppy Linux. As you can see, this is how the UI of the OS looks. Installation-wise, it is quite simple. Um, as you can see here, the AmogOS project is basically just a meme OS that was based on the
Mhm.
hit game Among Us. And yeah, the installation is quite simple. Just install the ISO and you'll be good to go. All right, with the UI and the UX, this is technically the UI. It's basically Linux with a skin on top. The UX is very similar to Linux, as you can see. For the ease of use, you can see there is a IDE here, as I can open up. As you can see, there is an IDE here where we could use the if you want some coding, if you want a little bit of coding, if you want to do a little bit of coding, and then as well as that, you can browse the internet, which is a good thing on any OS. As you can see, I can open youtube.com here. It does take a while. The performance of this OS isn't particularly the best, however, it does do the job. The key features of this OS is, well, the entire theme of the OS. Also, one of the key features is that we have Pi apps here. We can download apps and some games and multimedia tools using this. And the purpose of this OS was supposedly made for creativity. As I stated in the start, it was a meme OS, basically based on the game Among Us. And other key features is that you can see there is Among Us in this OS, but you have to have the game files to run it. And there are also some other games like Minecraft and the usual Debian tools. But there is also Minecraft Pi Edition, Minecraft Launcher. Overall, this is just a lighthearted take on Debian on Ubuntu. And yeah, on to the next OS, which will be explained by my colleague Bernard. Floor is yours.
All right. So the next operating system that we will review is Puppy Linux. All right, so Puppy Linux looks like this. This is the startup of Puppy Linux. It has a nice design, and what is interesting about Puppy Linux is that compared to other Linux distros, Puppy Linux is pretty lightweight. It's meant to be an OS that you can boot not only from the ISO image, but you can also do it from a hard drive. So it's meant to be lightweight, and it's also not that heavy compared to other Linux distros. It's only in the megabyte range when it comes to the storage of the OS. I mean, the weight of the OS. The Puppy Linux is also meant to be modular. As you can see, you can really customize. I mean, as you can see, we just started the OS and it already asks us options about whether you want to enable the firewall, whether you want to run as Spot. This is another feature of Puppy Linux that is quite difficult to explain, so we'll just skip this for now. But if you enable the firewall, it will then provide you with more options so that, for example, you can only activate the firewall specifically for SSH or maybe for Samba, maybe for DNS. It really gives you a lot of freedom and, in a way, creativity with how you want Puppy Linux to function for you. But we'll just skip all of that. What else? Well, as with any good As with any good operating systems, you need a way to browse the internet. So let's do that. Another interesting thing about Puppy Linux is that it does not use Mozilla Firefox compared to other Linux distros. Instead, it has its own browser, the Pale Moon browser. So let's try going to YouTube. As you can see, the performance is quite good. So this is very much welcome. Maybe you can try watching a video like this one. Ooh. It seems that wait. Okay, so it seems that it's not playing audio. Let me fix this by looking at the settings. Okay, so if you want to check at the settings, it's through setup. And from there you can, since we're dealing with sound, we can, hold up. Oh yeah, we can adjust the levels, and let's turn all of that up. And once we save and apply all the changes here, it should work like a charm. Well, it probably does not. So okay. So that's one of the problems with a Linux distro like Puppy Linux. It's so modular that oftentimes it can be pretty difficult for people to. Oh, never mind. There it is. Okay, so here's the audio. Besides YouTube, we can perhaps try doing something else with the browser, like playing a game. So this is just to test the performance of Puppy Linux when it comes to gaming. I mean, maybe in this case, Flash gaming. All right, give it some time. Oh, by the way, while we're waiting for Run to start up, one of the main principle of Puppy Linux is that it's not just one Linux distribution. It's meant to be multiple Linux distributions under the same, in a way, theme, under the same theme. So for example, Puppy Linux distros have many variants within Puppy Linux known as puppies. And the one I'm using right now, it's the Fossil Puppy Linux distro. There are many other types of puppies, like the Bionic Pup, and then there's the Zebian Pup. And what do you call these Puppy Linux puppies are compatible with other Linux distros. And so that's part of the principle of that's part of the one of the main principles of underlying Puppy Linux. And that principle is that it's very variant. It has a lot of variety. And hopefully with that much variety there, you can find a Puppy Linux distro that can suit your needs. Well, I think there's an issue with the game, so we'll just skip for now then. Despite the lightweight nature of Puppy Linux, there's a lot, and I mean a lot of things that you can do with it. There's a lot of utility. There's a lot of utility applications here, and then you can There's also some personal applications tailored for maybe organizing or uh, event management, and you even have several games here. A lot of interesting things that you can play with and play. Oh, right. For the UI UX, as you can see, the user experience and the user interface for Poppy Linux can be quite cluttered, to say the least. It's actually very cluttered. So it doesn't have the best user experience for compared to other Linux distros, especially with the tabs here. The tabs are very cluttered with each other. They're kind of squishing into each other. So again, that's not a very good thing. But I think to be fair, I think it's a fair trade to the fact that Poppy Linux is a lot more lightweight compared to other Linux distros. So that's about it with Poppy Linux. That's about it with the Poppy Linux review. Thank you for listening to our OS reviews, and yeah, and we hope that you've learned something new from our little presentation.
All right, as you can hear, that was our second OS, Puppy Linux, from our friend Bernard here. Closing thoughts. We do think that both OSs are technically light OSs, and they are slightly just alterations of what is the actual thing. For what we would use within two, personally, I would technically go for Puppy Linux because it has more use case other than AmogOS, which is mostly just fun recreation views. And yeah, thank you for listening to our presentation of this OS. Like my colleague Bernard said, hope you learned something new, and goodbye.